All right, family. So I believe that we are live. Peace and blessings, family, and welcome back to African Spiritual Conversations with the queens in here, Queen Mothers, Yeyes, Iyas. And I got a request from a Nana. She wanted me to ask y'all this question as well, but people always send me stuff to ask of us
Mm-hmm.
because this is the most important conversation. So I love it. We really also too want to make sure we finish up the information on initiation, EBOs. Like we got a few questions about that. Some of the other things that we didn't necessarily, in 60 minutes have time to discuss, but I want us to kind of hit on that. So before we get started and all of that, how are you two beautiful queens doing this morning?
I'm well. I just came from picking up some groceries from I should say, fresh produce from the farm, one of the farms here. So that made me very happy. I got all my yams and my potatoes and my
Mm.
peppers and grapefruit and it was a pleasant experience. No line, none of that. So yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, what about you, Ifeoma Dupre?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. All is well. It's good. I had a good visit with my dad yesterday. He brought me my taxes so I can get my stimulus check.
That's
But
what's
we also talked about just moving forward, things being the way that they are now, no matter how long this goes on, just staying in the space of creating what it is you want out of your life. You know what I mean? Not getting distracted by we're online more, so we spend a lot of time more time looking at other people's lives, and
mm,
we just talked about staying focused. So it was a good visit.
you know, you know.
Hmm.
So with all of that being said, I wanted us there's a couple of comments. The first one I want to put up there, which is this Queen Mother asked me this morning, and this is interesting that she asked me this because I know that me and you, if I'm like, kind of talked about this a little bit. So when she asked me this, I was like, So basically, what she asked was, and she wants to give people suggestions. What rituals would you suggest to keep those spirits who did not die well, who died violently, who basically when they died, it's in a horrendous state. If you're looking at the Devil's Punch Bowl, if you're looking at lynchings, if you're looking at people who died in OD, people who were brutally murdered and beaten, and I can just go on down a list. I mean, yesterday I shared that 269 Black women have been murdered since January 1st. 7 people has been since quarantine. Rituals could we do so we can make sure their spirits aren't trapped, and coming back to the earth reaping more havoc because they haven't been recognized or laid to rest? What rituals would you suggest that we do to help them move along to the spirit world they need to be in so they can come and help us fight this good fight, if that's what they want? What do y'all suggest? Because that was the Queen Mother's question. Just go on down the list.
Sorry.
Um, you want to go or
You can.
what?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that came to mind for me was doing an elevation that I do all the time. Well, not all the time, but I do often with at my Agun shrine, and I elevate over a 9-day period. In other words, I start from my hmm, my Agun altar is not on a table. My Agun altar is on the floor. I have drawn on that floor a signal that or a symbol that that houses my Agun, or that that houses. They're encompassed within that signal. Um, to get to uh, have the energy that they need and I need to connect. But I do that an elevation ceremony. It's funny, I was thinking about this the other day as well. So I guess the Egun are petitioning us to get busy. Um, I have an elevation ritual that I do for them over a 9-day period with candle, water, and other implements. I start from the ground and I elevate them um, in steps uh, for those 9 days. And there are prayers that you say. So that was the first thing that came to mind for me. The other thing that comes to mind is that with some of the folks who have transitioned. Now, remember when the towers came down, there were over 3,000 people who transitioned at that time, very violently, very violently. We saw a lot of ash and all of that stayed in the atmosphere for days or into weeks. But if you were anywhere in that vicinity, um, those people died very violently. Um, you can imagine if you're on the 78th floor of a building and the building is coming down, you going with it. So that is terrible to see, and it's awful to go through. It's awful to witness, but it's much more uh, of a jolt to you if you're going down with the building. So those kinds of situations, and I remember when the planes go down, certain planes and things like that. Those people or souls or spirits, um, we need more than elevation. We need to be doing ceremony with in a whole ile, all of us, and certainly with an egungun priest or priestess to help us to navigate the waters that we must go through in order to lift those spirits. And I said the word waters, and that made me think of Yemaya, and because there are many who die on the water as well, violently. Some people are lost at sea. Some people on a plane, you go down over water. Those are traumatic experiences, and you can get lost between heaven and earth. So the ceremonies that are needed are beyond just one person doing an elevation. Those ceremonies need to be handled communally. That's my basic answer.
Okay.
Madukwe, what's running through your mind?
Um, Everything you said, except I don't know how to do the elevation. Um, I've heard of people, I've heard about it, but I don't know all the details of it. Um, but the other thing now that's going through my mind is tears. Okay, so tears are a sacrifice. And so a lot of times we will stifle our tears, especially if you don't have to be out in public with people. You should take the time and cry when the tears come up, because you may be crying for more than what you're aware of. And that's something anybody can do. Um, those tears, and you could set an intention around cleansing while you're going through that to um, to help that those spirits move along. Those tears, there's something to the mourning process that also gives energy to the person making their transition. And so we can respect and observe that process for ourselves as we are mourning the people that we know and the people that we don't know that are making their transition at this time. And a lot of those people, I think we talked about this before too, that a lot of those people are sick by themselves and then they make their transition alone and their families don't get to deal with their bodies the way
Mm-hmm.
that they want to after they made their transition. And so um, it's a very huge thing. I have been thinking about this a lot, especially after you posted about the number of Black women that have been murdered.
Mhm.
Because I remember being in a situation where I was afraid for my life and knowing that if something had happened to me, that I was so far away from my family that it just would have been a tale about how I came up missing. And so I, I I also know that we as practitioners, um, it's time for us to collectively look at this through divination and see what there is for us to do if we're going to come together. If we're not going to come together because of the circumstances right now, then we can use time and do things at the same time. There's an Internet of Things unseen as well.
Mhm.
So we can activate that energy of connection and begin to do rituals to start to soothe some of this for the people who are making their transition and also the people that they are leaving behind. If you lost someone that's close to you and you're not a practitioner, let your tears be intentional, and also after 9 days begin to call them at your ancestor shrine, pour water out. These are things that we can do. And if you're feeling something really heavy on you, then I would suggest that you get a white bowl or a clear bowl, put some water, some Florida water, and some white flour in it. Wash the white flour petals in the water, and just use that to cool yourself down, to wash your face, wash your head, and some Ephraim. I'm sorry, that's the other ingredient. I was trying to remember the other ingredient. Or
Mm-hmm.
wash your hands and your face and cool yourself down. And also know that if it's impacting you, it's probably impacting the children in your home. So you will want to have them do the same thing. If you have a practitioner that you can consult with, this is a good time to do that, especially if someone in your family has made their transition um, because of COVID or some other violent occurrence, and see specifically what they need for their transition, because it's very serious. Like we have a responsibility to our ancestors so that they can support us. And so these are important questions that we have to be asking ourselves at this time. I definitely think that something has to happen. Every time that I'm on social media and I have an opportunity to even send out a flag to um, something needs to happen on a mass level, because so many people have made their transition, but it needs to be there's a lot of levels to it. So we need to celebrate the lives of those people who have passed on. I've been seeing a lot of pictures on Facebook. In fact, I had a relative who recently made that transition. So I have personal work to do, but I haven't gotten clear on what that is yet. But I'll be willing to share it. What it is.
I just thought that was a no. Go ahead, Ia.
The point you made about the tears, that's thank you for that. That's a wonderful point. We don't. I don't know if you or if you're familiar with Sabone Fu Somé. She's transitioned now. Melodoma Somay's wife at one
She
point.
wrote the book on intimacy, right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
She also has a really good presentation on tears, on crying. And in her culture, I'm trying to remember the name now of where she comes from. But anyway, tears are very important, and they help us to cleanse ourselves as well as cleanse each other. Because she, in this presentation, she talks about this affects the whole village. And that's what we do when we come together and mourn someone in our family or a friend. We come together and we shed those tears. And it's very interesting that when we mourn our relatives or friends, our way of doing it is very different from other cultures.
Yes.
We have our own way of doing it. We have our own way of having a wake, and we have the food, and in some other cultures in Africa, it's really a very much of a celebration, and it takes days. So yeah, the tears, shed those tears, show that emotion, have that release, and celebrate the soul that has transitioned back to their home.
Yeah.
Right on. I just think that's so important. When the Queen Mother asked me that question, I just really felt like that's how I've been feeling. Wasn't exactly knowing what should be done. Like I knew something should be happening, and I'm being honest. I'm specifically focusing on Black people because I don't think anyone who has been through this type of stuff that we've been through, or lived through, or died and lived through again and died again the same way. Like we've had that happen to people. But if you're talking about a lynching in 1870, if you're talking about somebody being lynched in 1962, or somebody being murdered. I mean, it's I feel like it's such an energy on the planet right now that even though we're doing the things we're supposed to do, I think when we talk about ritual and ceremony, I don't feel like that's being covered enough. I'm not saying nobody's not doing it, but I feel like it has to be more on a collective. Like there is something we should be doing. I don't know, every Sunday at 2, or I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. But I feel like we got to do something to help people not be trapped so they can go to the next phase. But I feel like we keep having a lot of trauma. Those energies are not settled.
Yeah, I think as the dust begins to settle, as we begin to come out of this, I believe that we are going to. You'll see a lot more ritual and ceremony to help release the spirits that are that died from this virus. And all the spirits that died violently. Certainly, the women, and I believe that there's even more going on than we can begin to fathom, because when people are together in a house for weeks, day in and day out, there's got to be that friction that comes up. And some of it goes as far as murder, but a lot of it is emotional murder, really. And we're going to have to cleanse ourselves of that as well. And but I believe that the practitioners, not only of Ifa or the Yoruba tree, but I believe Vudan and all of the other spiritual traditions will come together in ceremony, and they will do their separate ceremonies as well. We have to do that. We have to do that because there is a lot of energy floating around that must be appeased and released.
Yes.
I agree. I definitely believe there is something universal that should be happening. I don't think it should be restricted by what your religious belief is. Like, all human beings don't need to belong to something to drink water to sustain life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nothing but some blade of grass. You have to drink water to live. I feel like when stuff like this is happening, those of us who know about these other things, if you will, need to be figuring out how do we release that. And maybe that's something we should have been doing the whole time. Because on top of all the people who died from COVID, we still got centuries of people who are suffering who have not left.
Yes.
Right? Now they mad as hell.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Beloved. That's why I love Beloved.
Yeah.
I loved in the film Beloved was hard to watch for some people, but I understood it because for me, she made that part that is the physical. I mean, that's a spiritual be physical, so we can see what is it like when somebody dies violently, whether it was right or wrong, how they don't feel settled.
Right.
But they wasn't ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is such a phenomenon that none of us have lived through before. It's worldwide, and I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be able to do on a worldwide scale, but this is the time when the people who are leading the different denominations and spiritual practices, I hate to say it, it's hard for it to come out of my mouth, the Pope, you know who has said something though? The Dalai Lama would be a great person to lead something like this worldwide. Whether he would do it or not, I don't know. But we need that. We need the world to stand. God.
Oh, man, them too. He's so cute.
Okay, I'm terribly sorry. We need the world to come together to raise these spirits because they're everywhere.
Right on. Right on.
That wasn't me.
Okay,
I'm the dog.
That was
I'm the dog person.
No, I just. So let me ask you this. Okay, so Sister Ava Jerry Scott says Sambofu Sume is from Burkina Faso. She facilitated workshops on grief rituals.
Okay. Yes.
Someone said, link up on the African spirituality. I can help with a lot of that topic. So this is somebody named Jomo. You see him on your screen?
Yeah.
So if you could answer him, that would be great. I just think we need to do something, and I really feel like it should be on something that we do, you know, maybe on a weekly basis. Maybe, you know, I don't think it's like, oh, that big old ceremony. I'm saying if every Monday you make time for a shoe, I'm saying why can't every something we do something to recognize those people who struggle or who have left out of here in a certain way? Because I believe this is just me why they keep seeing us. They gonna get their point across, you know. And my thing is sometimes when I'm not gonna lie to y'all, when I looked at that number yesterday, and these are black women who have been killed at the hands of black men. So this ain't got nothing to do with white people. Don't nobody want to hear nothing about white supremacy when your loved one is dead at the hands of somebody else that's black. Don't nobody want an explanation for what was going on in the killer's head. Like, that's dead. But I feel like there is something happening on the planet that's directly between us that we could do something about. Not going to be no laws and legislations. It's not going to be understanding slavery for real. It's going to be like doing that real internal work that each human being has to do. And I don't know what that is, but I just know that that's real.
Yeah.
Sister LaDonna says, I live for ritual and ceremony. I do weekly rituals for women. Right on, LaDonna. It has to be something like that. You know?
Well,
Thank you, LaDonna. I mean, thank you,
yeah.
Kim.
Yeah. We just have to put it within parameters, shape it. Just come to the folks and say every Monday night or every whatever it is, Sunday, we will take 15 minutes, half hour, out whatever the time is, and we'll zoom in to whoever, or we'll whatever other technical thing that we can do to come to, and we don't even have to do that. We can do it within our own homes. But somehow I think if we can link hands together, even if it's just over the internet, I think we are suffering most during this time from not being able to touch. I'm a hugger. And so I want to hug somebody. I want to touch somebody. I want our hands to join together to raise up those who have transitioned. That's just me. There's something. So I'm sure that someone who's listening out there is going to get something together. It's just a matter of doing it, you know. So, and let's talk about that afterwards a bit.
I just think we got to do something. Because you know, every Thursday I do this piece with this Our Lives Matter. She tracks all of this. So on top of just ignorant ass black folks want to justify murder, we murder each other. That's why people sometimes can't fool with folks. But the other part is like I just feel like we should be doing something. That's something.
Yeah, we should be doing something, and we need to. I see not everyone, but a lot of people need a context. You know, we need to shift our context for what we do, because the intention, just to make sure that our aim is true, we need to set a really clear intention, and that may just be a part of what we do, because like we talked about earlier in the week, how we value ourselves and our lives really defines our ability to put our energy toward, and our ashe toward the grieving process. Because if you don't have a high value of your own life, then you may be sad because you miss somebody, but you may also be missing a great part of the point. Like, and even though we rely heavily on our ancestors as devotees and practitioners of um, African tradition, you know, we're a large community of a lot of different spiritual understandings. But we all have ancestors, and we may all be feeling these losses because, like Iyas said, this is uncharted water for us. We're in isolation, and when you are isolated, you can't run from yourself.
Mm-mm.
That's a part of it. And so we do get to look at this with a magnifying glass closer, because it's all we're all a part of each other as well. Like, we're made of the same stuff. And so one thing that I really really landed with me with the video that Ia posted on O'Shea Tora was Louisa Tish described part of Oshun's impact on the world as being that love, right? And for me, that agape love, or the not a romantic love or family love, but we talking about the love. It for me is defined as a recognition that we are made out of the same stuff, and an acknowledgement, okay, an acknowledgement that we're created the same way. So in our communities, like, that's a big deal, because we do that without thinking when it comes to family and children. People say you treat the people closest to you the worst. If you're into treating people bad, that's what you do. And sometimes on accident when you're not into treating people bad. But the point, that to make a long story shorter, that I'm trying to make is that we also should do some work around that, like um, the instilling of that feeling of value, and then going into the mourning process, really acknowledging what it is that we've lost, is that that physical manifestation of a part of ourselves. That's what we're losing, and that's why we feel it so deeply and so profoundly. And when these things happen to other people, they're also happening to us. They're happening to a part of us. And so with that acknowledgement comes a great responsibility to, it's now you're not just helping them, you're helping you.
That's right on.
You know what I mean? And so we can be in this community together and have some peace. Because this is why when we're holed up in these houses together, there are people, I think each of us knows somebody that we feel a little I don't fear for, because they may be in a situation that's questionable. You know, the rate of domestic violence. If the rate of domestic violence calls is increasing, then what about the people that aren't calling?
Yes.
Do
Yes.
you understand what I mean? Children who have been in an abusive environment would get a reprieve when they're going to school, but now they're not even getting that break.
Yes.
So if somebody is at home calling their kids a bunch of motherfuckers, and then now it's all day, every day, they don't get a break. They have nowhere to go, and who are they going to talk to? Because everything that you're doing is now monitored by all the people that you live with, because you guys are in the house together. If somebody wasn't feeding their children, or couldn't feed their children, or just wasn't, because we know that there are abusive foster parents. You see the stories all the time. If you're living in in an environment that's not fit for humans, and you're there all day, you might be suffering a fate worse than being outside and exposed. You know, this is happening in our communities. It's happening to us. And so
Yes.
if we are embracing the community in any way, we have to embrace the community in every way. You know, it's not. And so these are the things that we're that we should be doing work for. These are the reasons why we're coming together. We're grieving the loss of the people who are making their transitions, but we also are caring for the people who are still here.
Yeah.
I agree. I just never seen where when black women are murdered, us having any importance on it.
No,
Black
really.
men get shot by police, all the women are out in the street. You know, when it comes to their sons or males, that whole the way we support that structure. When a woman, I mean, somebody shared the post on their page yesterday, and of course, the woman's like, "Why you didn't leave? Why?" It's like, why the first thing you want to do is ask that question? Don't you feel like, oh my God? When I see, I'm from old school. When a hearse passed by, you put your hand over your heart and put your head down. That's a sign of respect for life. You ain't even got to know the person, but immediately the first thing you say is, she should have left, or where these cats come from. They always want to make our brother. It's like, that does not. That's so damn disrespectful.
We don't know what life is. That's what it is. If we have an appreciation for life, then when we lose it, we really get the impact of it. But for one thing, a lot of people have been desensitized.
Yes.
Resensitized them. Because I believe in the Wild West. I think if somebody bust the cap on the person who bust the cap on them, it would look different. I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying all of that just seemed like excuses because they can be desensitized, but when the beats roll up on them, they have sensitivity.
They have fear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pull them over, mess with them every day. I've seen a group of brothers do some shit, and then one white person walk up and they be like, mumbling under their breath, like, no, get loud with them. Get turned up with them. Threaten to blow their brains out, but you're not gonna do that because you know their ancestors were. Huh? That's all I'm saying. So for me, it's kind of like, there's something's wrong with this whole picture.
But the thing that stands out for me at this juncture is that we are doing something about it, because you have that program every Thursday, and the sister that you have on, I don't know how she does what she does, because my gateway is off to her.
Yeah.
You know, because she does a damn good job of bringing you the information. But now that she's doing that, and you have her on, and you're doing, I remember you were showing the girls in the morning who were missing, and different people everybody's taking a little piece. We got to bring this to the fore, because I have to tell you, in all honesty, I had no idea that things were as bad as they are with Black women being murdered. It's hard for me to take that in. And Black women are being murdered by Black men. What makes us kill our vessels of incarnation? That's some deep shit.
It is.
That's
deep-rooted self-hate.
Yeah.
It has to be. I mean, it's so deeply rooted that it's almost like I hear a lot of different ways like people want to deal with it. And some people just say they got to go. And they should not be allowed to reproduce because it's just causing more problems than it's solving. And before we can get a handle on the idea of it, like the physical part, we have to take some critical action. And every single time women rise up, the violence against them increases.
Yeah.
Say that.
Every single time in history that's happened,
Say
that's
that.
what occurs. So I knew intellectually that something was good. There was going to be a backlash. So the way that creation happens is with rebounding force that goes forward and backwards. So we know that science says for every action there's an equal and opposite
Opposite
reaction.
reaction. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that this is what happens, that this is the cost of rising up, which is why people feel scared before they stand up for themselves, because you know there's going to be some backlash. And so I understood that as a part of the process, that the violence is going to increase. But how do you then address that part or get in front of that part? That's what we need to begin to do. Like in the grieving process, we also need to gain an understanding of moving forward. We're going to continue to push forward for and advocate for ourselves strongly. We're going to continue to stand up. We're going to continue to declare who and what we are, how we're made, all those things, and our significance is going to increase with that. And as our significance increases, there will be those that feel like that's too much for them. They're not willing to give up what they've gained from us sitting down and being quiet, and they're going to fight back. And we have to then be prepared for that.
Right.
That's just what it is.
So
You know
what
what I mean? And some of us are ready and some of us are not. And everybody has their own form of resistance. So there are people who can't, like, physically just get out and, you know what I mean? They're not going to put paws on you. They're not going to do any of that. They're not going to be standing in the street with guns or whatever. But I do, with care, encourage women to be able to fire a gun. It's important that you know how. Now, whether or not you can keep guns and ammunition near you is a judgment call that you have to make, because people have children and they know you have to know your own children. You know your situation, you know yourself. You know what I mean? There's some people who can't have guns around them because when they lose their temper, they forget everything they know. And it's just, this has to end. So the quickest way to end an argument is to kill the person that you're arguing with. You're not going to grow like it. It's the quickest way. So it's like, there's a lot of pieces to it, and everybody has to be, we have to encourage people to also be responsible for themselves. But then as we look at the bigger picture, because if you can see the bigger picture, then that becomes your job. You're responsible for what you know.
So let's I want to jump in here and talk about what women can do from a ritualistic point of view, right? Like I got a text last week, girl, I need a hex, right? Now this sister was talking about at work, not in a personal relationship. And I prescribed to her what I prescribe to everybody who ever says they have a problem with another person. I said, just cool them out, put them on ice. Put them on ice. The simplest and most effective protection spell that I have ever employed is writing somebody's name on a piece of paper, dropping it down into a water bottle, speaking what I need to speak over that water, cap it, put it in the freezer. Be cool, baby. Be cool. And that's something that women who are in danger can take that first step at anybody's house. Put something to show you can do it at the corner store.
Yes.
You write that name down, say, stop fucking with me. Drop it in the freezer. And that will cool your situation from a ritual perspective. And then there's layers to it, right? Like Django is one of my favorite movies. And in Django, Rick Ross got a track on the soundtrack where he said, I need 100 black coffins, 100 black men. And that came to me just in this conversation. I was like, don't be afraid to burn a black candle. Again, this is what sisterhood and sister circles are for. Because if you can't do it safely in your home, there is a sister who has a fire safe, available, open altar that you can call.
Yes.
Yep.
Sis,
Yep.
this how you spell his name. This is his birthday. This is what he is doing to me and what I want to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that queen on the other end of the phone. Say less, sis. I
Yeah.
got you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's not something that we need to be charging our sisters for, right? Like right now, it's opportunity for people. Folks is charging for
Absolutely.
all kinds of stuff, but it don't cost nothing. Some of us ain't gonna charge you, Queen, if you have to call me and say, I need some help. I'm not gonna
Yep.
charge you.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
folks need to know that women need to know that there are women out here they can trust. That's one of our issues. And we talked about this
Yes.
before. Feeling
Yeah.
like you can, knowing who you can trust. But we have to, when your life is in danger, that is one risk you can take.
Right on.
Yeah.
If the sister got
Absolutely.
on a head wrap and got some type of African name and you see her on the internet all the time, it may be safe enough for you to send her an inbox and say, I
Mm-hmm.
need some help.
Yep.
Yeah. And for me, when I get that, if I don't, depending on the situation, if I don't know what the help should be, I got a sister I can go to. I got a couple of them to say,
Yeah.
this is what I got, or to refer the person to them, or whatever it is. But yeah, we need to support one another. That's what those sister circles are for, to give us that support that we need when we need help.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I think I've said it here before. A man will look at your ass, but a sister will save it every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
That is
Mm-hmm.
so true. Madonna, what do you suggest in terms of the having so many violent deaths happening right now? What do you suggest that we could do to help those spirits not be trapped and move on to the next space where they were supposed to go?
Okay, so two things came to mind. When you started asking that question, I thought you were going to ask me what can we do about all these deaths. And what came to me was what Yeye Fayomi told us a couple of weeks ago about that Tuesday night council of the Iyami.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take some names.
Mhm.
There's a Tuesday night council of witches that will deal with them. But for in terms of our sisters who we've lost to violence, those of us who can need to keep a space for them. Need to keep a space on, just keep a separate altar, not with our own ancestors, but just a separate altar with water and light. Just helping them move through the transition.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I will do when I have the space to do it.
Yeah.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. Water is a great energy mover and shaker. That's why the wonderful thing is being able to go to the ocean and 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 putting your burdens right there. But for a little altar, you just need a bowl, for me, preferably a glass bowl with some water and a white candle, and then you put your intention on it, and you let spirit do what spirit does.
That's, that's
You
it.
know.
So here's another question I said that we will cover today with this person's question. Her question was, how important is Ebo to African tradition, spirituality? Are there different types of specific Ebos? Do you believe that sometimes ordinary people get the desire or calling to do an Ebo? That's her question threefold.
Mm.
Well, first and foremost, ordinary people can do an ABO. It depends on if you uh, if if you have a reading and it comes through the reading that you're supposed to do this, that, and the other, then obey. Do this, that, and the other. And whoever's doing the reading or divining for you will guide you through that to a certain degree. Now, depending on what the Ebo is, if they say to go get this or go get that, there are certain things that you have to go get yourself. You have to put the effort into it. It's what we're really doing here is trying to balance energy. And so you can't expect somebody else to balance the energy, to bring your energy into balance. The best that they can do is give you the message from Ifa, the Able, and then you have to do the work. So many times what happens is you get the information, the message from Ifa through the diviner, and then you just don't do it. And that's worse. Don't ask the question if you don't want the answer.
That's so true.
Yeah.
So I'm
But
gonna I want to speak to that question a little bit
yeah.
because we're online. What moved through me was this person is asking this question about are ordinary people sometimes called to do Ebo. This person could be asking that question from the perspective of those people who say, Orisha came to me in my dream. I'm a child of so and so because I like blue or something like that. So they may be
Mm-hmm.
coming from that perspective and looking for us on this forum to validate that. So I want to step back and clarify that when people in the tradition say Ebo, we mean an offering.
All right.
There are people who will break it down to Ebo means a sacrifice of blood, and Abimu means a sacrifice of food, an offering of food. So the person asking the question, I'm just saying, I'm dancing around my words. I'm just saying plain. Don't come with a question that's a setup. So if this question is a setup, here are some specifications. Uninitiated people should be very, very careful about.
It's the setup to say some people don't have to be initiated. You could do sacrifice and all
Yeah,
this. Okay,
yeah,
so yeah, no,
yeah.
that's not
Uninitiated
gonna happen
people,
on the internet.
yeah,
That's
uninitiated
not gonna happen
people.
today on the internet. So
No, no,
that's not gonna happen. But
uninitiated
it
people
could.
should not be making.
It's
Go
also a
ahead.
possible. It's an earnest question because I know people who have. I know elders who have done sacrifice without being initiated. I know some people who have done that. And in different traditions, different things apply. Uh, but you're responsible for what you know. And what I have been taught, I will say that if you have not been prepared for that, even with some initiations, you're told that's not your job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yes.
not for everybody to do. And the way we find out is through divination.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't had divination that's told you that, and I'm not talking about divination like you at home throwing coconuts by yourself and you're not initiated. That's not what I'm talking about. Talking about sitting on the mat and you told that's not, it's a lot of things that a lot of information you can get about your destiny. But if that's not a part of your destiny, which you will find out, from that type of reading, which in different traditions is different. In Ifa, it's a Iyan Ifa or Babalawo that will tell you, you know, giving you information about your destiny that you will find out that. But at that point, it's still a way that things have to be done. And if you haven't been trained to do those things, I don't recommend you do because if you do, um, you could be causing more problems than you're solving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Um,
we do that to solve problems. We don't just do it for
yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
We're not just
Yeah.
out here doing. It's not anecdotal. It's not pageantry. That's real. Uh, that's real life. You know, um, an animal is a living being. It is not. This is not a game. We're not playing. At least that's not our intention. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's it is a serious matter. We're having conversations, and I think sometimes we do forget that our audience, a lot of people are at different levels. When something gets good to us, we may be saying things that can be misinterpreted. And so, really trying to be mindful of that. I just want to say, yeah, ask the question. There's no stupid questions, but yeah. And we know that people be online playing games too. So for that,
Well,
let's
this
not. This is not the time for that. Anyway,
no,
I don't. Yeah, this is not the time for that.
this
If
is not the
people have
time.
realized, I'm sorry, Ia. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is not the time, and this sure ain't the place. Don't be playing no games around here.
Exactly.
But
If you don't know
let's
that
talk
we're in
about.
crisis, and if you don't know that we're in crisis, and you choose
Yeah.
this time to pick fights and be petty, and this goes for not this question necessarily, but for all things. Let me just say this: if you choose this time to pick on people in the tradition and in other religions and tradition, people who are trying to be devoted and connect spiritually, and you choose this time to be petty and antagonistic, you need to check yourself, because I don't re-raise adults.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't re-raise adults. So if you grown, that's just straight foolishness. I'm gonna just say it what it is. That's straight foolishness. And we're not gonna play with you. We'll answer every question, but we ain't playing with you.
So to go back to treating it as an earnest question, and knowing the difference between Ebo, which could be generally considered an animal offering, and
Yeah.
Adunu, which is a food offering.
Mhm.
I would venture out to say that if a person is trying to make a connection with an Orisha, right? You feel some connection with an Orisha. You hear that you read somewhere in the book that people take 6 apples to a palm tree and offering to Shango, or you take oranges to the river for Oshun, or something, things along that order. I'm gonna stand on my opinion and say that's okay. That's how you build connection. That, like I
I check.
love to say,
I
you
check.
you make a connection to the creator by standing in creation. So if you getting nudges and signs and symbols and feelings that you want to work with Shango, and you go and you look up stuff on the internet and you read something about some till you take apples or rum to a palm tree, try it. That's
Mhm.
innocuous enough. It's an intention, it's an offering, but it's not going to get you in trouble.
And
Don't
also,
don't do the
the
other stuff. Just start slow and pay
right.
attention to what you're vibing with the spirit.
Mhm. In
Yeah.
Fama's Green book, uh, Fundamentals of Yoruba Religion, Orisha worship, there are the taboos for each Orisha. So what not to take them if you're going to take a adimu, uh, to a tree,
That's
to a
smart.
stone, put it on the earth, to whatever natural force corresponds to that Orisha. Yeah, the
Yeah.
information is there. It's accessible.
Yes.
Knowing what not to do is almost more powerful than knowing what to do.
I
Yes.
say.
Right on. All right, y'all. We covered some things today.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
think they really linked in there. I mean, like in terms of what's happening with that energy, and also, the ebos, things that we need to be doing to clear the path. Because I also think that um, even though those numbers are just outrageous, we know that that's constantly happening. I think for me, one of the things that disturb me is that I get to see the behavior that is supported,
Hmm.
and people feel like they have the right to just kill somebody because she want to leave, or because she goes into the cases. And I just think to myself, like, are you serious? Like, you really think you can just take this person's life and then you just gonna go on and do? Are you really that? Is that that's a problem?
Let me
That
say
Mm-hmm.
this. and I don't talk about this often, and LaDonna knows about this, but um, I've been in a situation where I was probably scared, like literally my heart was beating fast most of the time. And what it took for me to leave in the way that I did, like at 3 o'clock in the morning with a bag of stuff and all the rest of my stuff is gone and I had to start over and then try to get back to my mama's house and all of this stuff. What it took for me to do that, there were different parts to it. There was the physical part of actually having someone who wasn't involved in the situation who was available to come and get me. And then there was also the making the mental.
Hold on. What happened? Okay, hold on, y'all. She's signing back in.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. She's back. All right, you're back. Go ahead, sis.
Never mind. Look.
Okay, I feel you. Making the mental transition from being scared to being able to collect my thoughts enough to actually have a plan. Now, I'm going to say this. I had family to support me. If my family hadn't support me, and extended family too, I would have been lost in the sauce. It'd have been a done deal for me. I'm about 80% sure. And so I feel like, and I was initiated. So, and I feel like women in the situations don't always have people that they can count on for whatever reason. You know, whether the people are beholden to the person that's abusing them, or whether they just don't have nobody else. It's a lot of people in general, and especially women who are just there on their own.
Yeah.
They don't have no family. They ain't got no friends. They don't have no, because if you've been in a cycle of abusive relationships, chances are you don't have a lot of female friends. I wasn't in a cycle. I just had an experience. So the thing is, I understand a little bit, enough to know that there has to be, because we have this awareness of these situations, we get to do something. Whatever that looks like, whatever we come up with, whatever Ifa says, whatever, we get to do something to support them, because there's a million reasons why a person would commit violence against another one. But for Black people, it's primarily because we have been taught that our lives don't mean shit. And even if we've been able for the majority of our lives to say they do, there is a situation that can trigger that in you. And if you come up on it, it's going to be all bad for you unless you have some support. So I want to be the support for the women who don't have support so that it doesn't happen. But also, I will say that the men who were my allies made a major difference too. And so I'm calling out brothers also who are claiming that title of ally. If you say you love Black women, don't just let it be about all the different positions you can put their booty in. Let it be about this as well. If you love Black women, you don't want the women raising the women who are going to be marrying your sons to have been in 14,000 abusive relationships before they get to your son. So he got to do damage control all day long. Like, these are the things that we don't, when people talk about nation building and then they simultaneously create situations that infect people with trauma, then you're going against the grain. And what you'll find down the line is that you've gone against the grain of your own being. And the price to pay for going against the grain of your own being and indulging foolishness is way higher than you want to pay. Trust and believe.
All spoken, sis. But I just feel like we gotta, I think the other thing, even when we talk about violence like that against women, I think we got to talk about how we condone, justify why people get to do that. Because I think there's a problem with it. I think that's why I can't sometimes do social justice and stuff like that, because it just feels like a bunch of bullshit. And there's no accountability in it. There's no meat in it. And I just, it makes me feel some kind of way that you cannot care about yourself. Just don't get to abuse other people because you feel like some kind of way. That's like even the people who I knew who smoked crack. Let me be honest with you, was like, I'm not gonna take my kids out there. I'm gonna make sure my kids are safe. I'm gonna go out and do whatever the fuck I want to do to myself, but I will not take my kids. Though I didn't agree they shouldn't be smoking crack, but at least they thought enough to be like, I may not think I'm shit, but I don't get to do that to my kids. They don't get to make this journey with me because I'm fucked up. And that's
there were a fair amount of newborns found in crack houses too.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying for people who get that part.
We have to do both. We do.
Yeah.
We have to do both.
I agree, but I feel like though, but I think only Black people get that message to do both. You know, one of the things I would say when I would be with white women in certain groups, they would be so focused on themselves, and they're going to get it in. With Black women, we always give this message of we have to care about everybody, and then we don't put the mask on ourselves. And it's like we have to get to a place where it's okay for Black women to just go for themselves. And not give a fuck about how the abuser got there and what his mama did to him. I don't give a shit about that. Because your rights end where mine begin. That's what I was taught. Your rights end where mine begin.
Mine begin. That makes sense. That makes sense. When I say do, let me clarify though, sis. When I say do both, what I mean is that anything seen comes from something unseen.
Right on.
And I'm saying while we are addressing the manifestation of this thing, let's also address the root of this thing. And I'm not making a distinction between a man who's been abusing women. I'm not talking about that specifically. What I'm saying is that we have to close in on the thing.
I agree.
Because if we don't address the source of it, we'll be running after the effect of the thing all day.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I agree 100%. We have to get to that source, whatever it is, and I think it's different. It's several things. So we have to get to that. But the first thing we got to do is save the women who are being killed. That's number one. And but if we don't get to the source, saving the women will that's all we'll be doing, because it'll keep happening over and over and over again. We can't instill that kind of behavior or let that kind of behavior go, and our sons see that as the way that you deal with women. We can't allow that, and we as women can't allow it. But our men have to stand up and take action, not talk about it.
That's your homeboy. You worried about him exploding, but let his ass explode and you handle his ass.
That's right.
Like, let him walk it off. No, don't let him walk it off. Check his ass.
Yeah, because I'm not the man police. I'm not finna be policing men.
No, I'm not.
Men
Exactly.
Men need to be policing men. I'm not the man police.
Man police. You're not the man police. I'm
exactly.
It can feel like that though.
I'm all about protecting my sisters, and don't get me wrong. I will lay a man down. I will lay somebody down behind my sisters.
Yeah.
But let's be clear. That's men's work.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want these brothers that's out here huffing and puffing to take responsibility for their brothers.
Exactly.
That's a must. You take responsibility for your brothers. I'm gonna take responsibility for my sisters, because don't get me wrong, there are some antagonistic women who draw fire. There are behaviors that can draw fire. You can get it in too. We can. We know where to we know how to talk to somebody to make them want to knock the shit out of us. We do. I'm not going to deny that. We do. We know how to incite anger. You know, I mean, we talk about a lot of spiritual things, but that's that is a real thing. Like, women have the power of their tongue in a way that does not exist in men. And so we can incite a riot. And we just need to learn how to use our powers for good. That's our responsibility.
Right on.
You know, I mean, our responsibility is to teach women to use their powers for good.
Right on.
It's not. Yeah.
Sister Chris Ann says that research says that on the average, women make 7 attempts to leave before they actually do leave. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Queen. So she's thanking you, Ifa Multiplay, for sharing your stories.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we got to put a face to it in a real way. You know, I watch us do character assassination. Sorry, on women when they talk about that. Well, what did you do? Or, you know, she loud, or, you know, she did. It's like, I used to hear, like, I don't care if she walking down the street butt naked. Like, you don't get to do whatever. You just don't. They don't give you an excuse to touch, to do whatever. I don't want to hear that she had a booty hanging. I don't really care. It's hers. You don't get to claim it. It don't belong to you. So anyway, family. LaDonna, how you doing?
I'm good.
That just got me heated. I just get, there's some topics that just get me like, where I'll be like, this is just crazy. This is just crazy. And then I work with a lot of girls. I definitely don't want that to be their story. I feel like things that your mothers went through, that should not be your story. Like, I want to.
Let me say this too.
As free as you want to be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was gonna say. Let me say this too. Women, we hold the power of Olodumare in our bellies. We hold the power of God in our bellies.
Right on.
And so, you know, when you're sitting with a woman, especially a woman of a certain age, and she starts doing that belly laugh, it's infectious. Like, you can't. Everybody in the house feel it.
Yeah.
But also, you know, our tongues can be very sharp.
Yes.
We have a lot of power. So part of this equation is women recognizing and respecting their own power. That's a part of the equation.
Yes.
This has a lot of moving pieces. And so the ones that belong to the women that we need to take responsibility for, we are moving in that direction because our mothers are saying that this is what's necessary for us to do at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we're putting a call out to the brothers to take care of their part.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of men that can teach this to men.
Yes.
They can teach the importance of the fact that we have the power of God in our bellies. This is a creation space. So when you violate women, you violate way more than just somebody who was talking smart to you and you felt offended by it or it made you feel some kind of way, and the only thing that you could think to do was to lash back physically. That's just one part. There's a lot of pieces to this, and so we rely on divination to sort out individual instances of drama. We rely heavily on that to sort through things individually, but these are all like branches from a tree, and the tree is that there needs to be harmony in order for us to move forward. We are whole unto ourselves, and then together we create a whole. And so we're interdependent. We are not codependent. And so we begin doing the work of making women whole. You know, that's a big part of that. Big part of what we're doing is we're doing the work of making women whole, so that we can play our part, right? And so we put a call out to the brothers to do their part to make men whole. And then interdependently, we grow as a nation of people. This is the math of the thing. And so if we can't gloss over that in any way. This is a lot of work and it takes a lot of people. We do our each individually, that's why destiny is so important. A big part of the tradition is understanding what your destiny is so you know what puzzle piece you are and where you fit in.
Right.
So when you tap in and do your piece, then everybody else follows suit. But they're not doing what you're doing. They're doing their piece. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
if with everybody doing their piece, we get a wholeness about us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we have wholeness on any level, it impacts the world exponentially.
Right on.
And
Mm-hmm.
so all these things that we say that we need, they become available to us. This is the way that they become available to us. When we are able to manifest this wholeness on each level as we are called to do it. This is why we rely on divination. Like, this is not a game. This ain't a game. This ain't anecdotal. We ain't out here just wearing head wraps and dressing in African clothes, trying to.
Right.
No, the pageantry is a part of it. It's an important part that we show up as who we really are and defining ourselves and our individuality. It's very important. It's important for ourselves when we look in the mirror and see who we are, and it's important when we give the black glance and recognize each other's voices in the darkness. Because this is darkness. If ever there has been darkness, this is darkness, and we should be calling out to each other, recognizing each other's voices. But the part that we're individually responsible for, this is why I love African tradition. And I'm not. This is not specific to Ifa, but Ifa is where I was called to be. So I'm gonna say this is why I love African tradition is because as an individual expression of Olodumare, of God, then I have my marching orders, and I do what I can, and that I know that each person has their own individual marching orders, what they came here to do, what they came here to express, who they came here to be. And if they get about the business of that, and they can do that with gentle character, in other words, without aggressing or hurting anyone else, then we create a wholeness amongst ourselves. That the vibration that we're sending out is a healing one. That we're beginning to fix things without even touching anything. That means without touching any spiritual implements, we just, things begin to right themselves. Why? Because our vibration is so strong that it sets things right with our intention.
Right.
That we reclaim our Ofo Ashe, the power of our word. That when we speak something, it happens. This is the wholeness that we're after. We're not here just talking about, we talk about a lot of things, and some of them are real esoteric. There are things that are not, they're hard to pin down to a physical manifestation. But this is not a game. We are seriously, when you are initiated, that's you turning your life over to God. That's you saying, in my physicality, I recognize that there's a smallness that I don't really want to be subject to all the time. So now I'm going to take the time and learn the things to transcend my physical smallness and begin to make an impression bigger than my fingerprint. And so when it's a whole new way of living. And so that's why we said do everything else you can before you get initiated. because once it happens, then when you start coloring outside the lines, it's not like people say, what do they say? You get the whisper, then you get the pat, then you get the punch in the face. Yeah, you might just get the straight punch in the face if you've been initiated, because you already said that you was gonna be about the business. You know what I'm saying? You made the oath, you made the promise to be present whole, complete,
Mhm.
and active. Not just, sitting in
Yeah.
the room, talking to yourself. But and there are things that some people can do sitting in the room just in meditation. That can get it cracking.
Yeah.
You know, that's hey. But you activated your superpower. Now you got super responsibility.
See,
Exactly.
Right
That's
on.
Yeah.
basically what you did. You
You're
didn't.
you're you're on fire today.
That's right.
I
I'm gonna
don't
be
know.
quiet. I was like,
I don't know what you're sitting on, what you ate, but something happened because
Right
you're
on.
I had a
on
good night's
fire.
sleep. That's all. I had a good night's sleep.
Because we needed to hear that. We needed to hear
Yeah.
the charge after such a heavy topic for somebody to remind us who we really are. We're not just the murdered. We're not just the helpless. We're not just the we can't do anything. We are life. So
Yes.
you have to remind us of that. Like, look, we got work to do, family.
Yeah, we weren't built to be victims.
Yeah,
This is the thing,
Exactly.
like
I feel
we
like
take victimhood like because they done put this tag on us and put this jacket on us that like we supposed to be the victims. Oh, woe is the black people and all of that. We ain't built for that. That's not how we're made. And so the important
Mhm.
part of for me of being in the tradition was understanding how I'm made. Like you're made like even the Bible says that you're wonderfully made. You can't run from it. You can't run. You're not built to be a victim. So if you're feeling victimized, like, and I'm gonna tell you, when I was in that situation where I had to leave with a duffel bag and well, two duffel bags basically, and left my whole life behind basically. Uh, the person who reminded me was my father, and he is a Baptist Pentecostal. You know what I mean? And he just called me and said, I like to think I raised my daughter better than that. That she ain't gonna just lay down and take some shit.
mm,
That you're gonna do what's necessary for you. Because we have invested a lot in you becoming who you are.
mm.
And I was like, I had to think about it. And I was like, okay, time to get up. Time to get up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Good.
Okay. Take it to the altar. Go on, you preach today.
I love it. But we needed to hear that. I
Mm-hmm.
know I did because I was over here feeling mad as hell. But because I just think it's ridiculous. But you're absolutely correct. You're
Mm-hmm.
absolutely correct, and thank you, for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure.
Always grateful to be in your presence. Always.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasure to have
Mm-hmm.
the counsel and company of my sisters and Iyas. Um, we've invested a lot in our own spiritual development,
okay.
and it takes a lot to refocus yourself when you're going through something to make it a part of your spiritual development. So I want to acknowledge you all and all the women listening, and all the brothers listening who have done that, because that's not an easy thing to shift that focus.
Right.
And so as we begin to rebuild our networks and come back out into the world, let's remember that we can support each other in that way. We
Right
can
on.
see things through a spiritual lens, and then we reclaim our power like that. That's how
Yes.
we're built. I can't speak for nobody but the people that's kin to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, you know what I mean? And this is how we save the world, by reclaiming our power. Because when we do that with a level of character, then everything that we do benefits everybody. They know that. They know that when we move forward, everybody moves forward with us. That's not necessarily true for everybody, as we see with the world in the state that it's in now. But when we get it, come on, we take everybody with us. If we
Come
got to
on.
carry them on our back, we
Mm-hmm.
take everybody with us.
True.
That's why it's important for us to stand up. We have to stand up in the truth of our being and reclaim our power. That's our job. That's our number one job. Is to stand up in the truth of our being and reclaim our power. And if you can give that to anyone, if you can give that gift to someone who is suffering through something, because a lot of people are in the place that their problems are.
Mm. Mm.
You know what I mean? And on the inside, they got to stand up. But we have to, some people, we're going to have to hold them up so they can stand on their own 2 feet. And we rely on spirit to do that. And now, having been initiated and properly trained, we hold the information, we hold the science behind showing somebody up from a distance. So that's why we work.
Yeah.
That's the work that we do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All
Yeah.
right, yeah. We come through another week. Next week we have some guests. We're gonna have some brothers on next week with us a few times. And I'm excited for these conversations because this is gonna be very interesting. To see where the energy and information comes from that. So I hope that y'all have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see you all next, I will have 3 more days of walking 10,000 miles. I mean, 10,000 steps.
That's the steps.
We don't be out walking the 10,000.
I'll be laid out. Nah, I'll be laid out. So, any closing remarks, ladies, before we come on out?
Have a good weekend. Be safe. Stand strong.
I want to invite any women listening who want to participate in or be a part of a safe and sacred space of women only to look up the Mantis Moon Temple on Facebook. There is a Facebook page and a group. And the Facebook page obviously is open to anyone, but the Facebook group is women only, and we deal with what it takes to recover from our trauma, to move through our grief, and to, like Modupe said, get back to wholeness. So look us up.
Right on. Thank you, LaDonna, for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I
family.
have a reference. It's not an E5. It's not a book on African spirituality. It's a book by, I always reference the Inner Landscape is because of this book that I read by Saint Teresa
Of Avila. Yeah.
Yes, The Interior Castle. I recommend that all, especially women, but all people read that book. That is a great book.
What's it called?
The Interior Castle.
Okay.
Could you put that in the comments, Queen?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think that would be so awesome. All right, family. We are out of here, y'all. Hold on. We'll see y'all next week. Hold on, family.
Bye.